Okay, guys, we are back with another episode of the Coach Track podcast. This week, me and Dan Williams are very fortunate to be joined by the amazing Leyla Holmes. Leyla, thank you so much for joining us today. I'd love to find out a little bit more about you, a little bit more about the work you're doing, and then I think we're going to have a great chat about everything LinkedIn and personal branding. So, Leyla, thanks for joining us today.
Amazing. Thank you for having me. Honestly, I've been looking forward to this. So, I'm Leyla Holmes. I work with founders, especially early stage founders within the first 2 years of their business. And we focus on their business, growing their business sustainably, but we're working on the psychology rather than the strategy and, all these things. So, I see business as a reflection of ourselves. So, it's basically an expression. So, we work on the founder itself and then everything just comes from there. This is what I do.
That's amazing. That's amazing. What me and Dan noticed and what sparked this conversation was these great LinkedIn posts that you were writing, and then we had a deep dive, didn't we, behind the scenes, and we're talking about, a niche change, something that you did. And Dan, I think this would be a great topic for you to get involved in. Tell us a little bit more about this niche change, because I think that relates so well, doesn't it, to personal branding, you know? Um, Tell us a little bit more about that.
Exactly. So when I did start out, my niche was very broad, to be honest. I was getting into the typical trap of the coaching trap of wanting to work with everyone. And I was just, labeling it as high achievers, but then I niched down to founders only, first 2 years, and a specific kind of founder as well. So it made me realize that when you do try to reach everyone, you can't be as successful. You do have to talk to your audience and you do have to find it. And I feel like doing the work takes you there as well. So yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And Dan, that's exactly what we say, isn't it? The niche, Dan. We could talk about this all day. Dan,
Found
what's your thoughts? Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. It's exactly as me and Dan talk about. So, Dan, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's definitely a trap that a lot of people get into. I would say it also makes content a lot easier because obviously you've just got to target one person and
Yes.
solve one person's problems. Much easier, much less headache. And obviously you get to help people much deeper, both free and as clients. And you get to get paid more as well. So it's a win-win really.
One thing that obviously is so powerful in that niche change that you had is all your sort of experiences that you had with it, you can pass on, can't you? So all these people that you work with, all these founders, all these people that are wanting to have, a real powerful online presence, you can talk from experience. You can't lead others down the path if you haven't walked it yourself. And I think that's a really powerful thing. And actually really powerful to admit. So do you openly talk about that? Is that something that you say to them, look, I had this change, I used to do this, I realized maybe that didn't work, this is my approach now, this could help you? Is
Mhm.
that along the lines of what we're talking about?
It is, to be honest. And I feel like the more you talk about it, the more you can connect because we always think we're going to help like people who are very, very far back behind of us. But when you look at it in the reality, usually they're only one or two steps behind. So if you've already walked those steps before them, you just have to say, "Oh, hey, yeah, I did do this. Just let's shorten the time." Like you don't, let's shorten instead of you spending, I don't know, 2 months in that space, we can now do it. I don't know, maybe you're just going to be 1 week there because you still have to take that step to get to the next level. But let's just shorten the time. So I do talk about it in my content and in my coaching as well. Like it's always, yes, I've done this. Don't worry, you're not doing the wrong thing. Let's just, create shortcuts and make the time shorter. So I do. And I feel like you do have to in order to be authentic.
That's amazing. Actually, one of the great things that we talked about before we come on is that, Layla, what you do is from the heart. You use your
It is.
intuition, your gut instinct, right? And then you've got Dan, who's very tactical, right? He looks at what's trending. He can sort of takes time to plan this sort of stuff. Very tactical, Stu. But both of them work. So I'd
Mhm.
love to know a little bit more about that. So, Layla, where do these great ideas come from? Because I've noticed a few things. If you look at everything that me and Dan recommend for our people to do, you're doing it. So I look at all your LinkedIn posts. I look at what you're doing in terms of that, and it seems to be you follow the sort of like track that we try to help other people to do. So I'd love to know a little bit more about where this inspiration comes. And then Dan, but do you have the same inspiration with this? Because obviously Dan's, how many tweets have you done in your life, Dan?
I think just on my account, like 50,000.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
it's a lot, a lot. So Layla, yeah. So Layla, well, where does this inspiration come from?
I was thinking about this actually. We have talked about this before. And even this morning when I wake up, I was thinking like, because I've been working a lot with decision making processes with founders, like how to make a decision and, the whole process of it, creating mind maps and all this. And I'm thinking, what's my decision process? And it's kind of like, I just wake up and I'm like, I'm going to do this. I just start doing it. Like, it's funny. It does come from very intuitively. And it just takes me where I'm supposed to go. And also when you are following the intuition, it kind of you do have to be open. So when you're walking along that way, yes, strategy comes in. You start learning. You have to be open to it. It's funny. I literally don't know. I don't know how I'm doing it. I don't know why, but I'm just doing it. And that's kind of what I try to give founders as well. I work with men and women, and I feel like women, we're more creative and we're just like, we follow that intuition. Maybe it's gender roles, maybe it's society, who knows? But it's kind of how we operate at the moment. And so it's kind of finding that balance between the strategy. Yes, we need the strategy, we need the systems, we need the structures, but we also need that crazy intuition to just be like, yeah, I'm just going to do this. Because we were talking about niches. It's like we are the niche. So the more you're listening to yourself, the more you can express that. But the more strategies and systems you have, the more you'll be able to distribute it evenly.
That's amazing. I do have a theory of why your content works. I'll come on to that in a minute.
Yeah,
In a
well,
minute, and I think obviously why this is so good because for the people of mine and Dan's communities, the people that we work with, the people that listen to this, we're hoping that coaches or personal branding experts, marketers, whoever it might be, have that light bulb moment and they go, actually, hang on, I can use that. I can take it. That'll work for me. But Dan, you have a slightly different approach to this. Don't you? Talk me through. Do you see any like similarities between what you do, or is yours a little bit more structured?
I think we've both got quite a good balance, I would say. I think Layla is obviously she's doing it from the heart, but she's doing a lot of the right stuff as well, which obviously helps. And I think if I was I mean, a lot of people get caught up in optimizing everything, optimizing all sorts of strategies and the latest stuff, and they just hate it. Especially coaches, like they're not really natural marketers, I would say. So I think if you don't enjoy it, people will know that, and it's just going to make your content perform worse, get you less results. You're going to enjoy it even less. And I think that is part of the coach job. That's why a lot of them fail or quit, is because they just don't enjoy it. So you've got to keep it sustainable for sure.
Layla, I do have an idea of why your content works. Okay. And remember, me and Dan
okay.
do this all the time.
Hit
And
me.
I'd love to know what you think. First of all, I can tell that you absolutely love it. I can tell that because you
I
post
do.
every day. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing, isn't it? Where it's not mature, you do it because you generally want to help people. And I can tell you generally want to help people because it's not salesy. It's quite authentic. It's just from a good place. And I also like the way that you've involved a lot of yourself in it, because you're a likable character, but that's the lead magnet, if that makes sense, is this relationship that you can build with them. I thought that was a great way that you've done it. And I like I say, for anyone who's watching this or looks at your content and what you're doing, there's no sales pitches. It's very much you drinking coffee out and about. I can see your target market. I can see who you resonate with. I can see the tactics and strategy behind it. And I think it's great. And it just seems, Dan, that's a lot what we talk about is being authentic, not being salesy, trying to enjoy it as much as you can, and then see the money as a byproduct. But Dan, have you got any more thoughts on that? Have you got a deep dive into what she's doing?
Yeah, exactly. I'm just looking at her post now actually, and I think I can't really criticize much. It's quite annoying. 'Cause you're doing it all so well. Yeah, I know. I think if it works, keep doing it. And I think even better would be to do more. So if you're posting, say, 3 times a week at the moment, they're all getting like really good engagement, kind of like
I
20
do every day.
every day.
Every day.
Yeah,
Since I
exactly.
started, I've never missed a day. Because for me,
Good
it's
for
like
you.
I see it as free real estate kind of or a free billboard.
Yeah,
If I
definitely.
have the opportunity to do it every single day, then I will. I don't do it more. I could do it more, but LinkedIn doesn't like it. Like once is I feel like the best for it. But yeah, I see it as okay. And I do love it, like genuinely. It's my favorite part of the day, writing the posts.
So I do have a question for you
That's
actually.
amazing.
What kind are you sending DMs? I'm intrigued.
Yes, I do send DMs, yes.
Okay. So to people who are liking the posts or to other people? Just people
Also,
liking.
I do liking and commenting. I also do cold as well. And I have a structure that also works with cold. So
Perfect.
Amazing. Yeah. Perfect. Exactly
it
as
still
me and
works.
Dan have taught. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah. I mean, Dan, we can obviously see a lot of the similarities between our approach and what we've helped other people with, isn't it? Is being proactive. Yeah. And actually, this is something me and Dan were writing about in our school community when it comes to plan the amount that you post. All right, it's a big thing. Actually, if you look at AI, I saw a guru talking over there about posting 5 times a day on X. 5 times a day. What's your thoughts on that? That's got to be way too much. 1 times a day later. 1 time on LinkedIn a day, I think sounds great. That's along the same sort of lines that I follow and I'd recommend to anyone else. But Dan, is there a sweet spot with that? Is it different for towards every sort of platform?
I think the sweet spot is how much you can get out without losing the quality and the enjoyment of it. I think if you've got loads of quality stuff to share and you can keep doing it sustainably and you enjoy it and you've got the time as well, which is a big constraint for coaches, is they're helping people most of their day, hopefully. They've already got clients. If you've got the time for it, why not do more if it's already working? So 5 times a day is a lot of times. If you haven't got any clients yet, I mean, why not? I was doing like 10 posts a day on X when I first started, and
Mhm.
they were all rubbish, to be honest. But I learned a lot from that. And I think that's what people should, they shouldn't be scared to fail, is the biggest thing. And
I
if you
love that.
find something that works, do more of it, is what I would say.
So, Layla, I do have some questions for you because I did do a deep dive and I was there trying to make some notes, trying to think about the philosophies that me and Dan have, how we help other people. And then, I'd love to know more. Okay. So obviously you do really well with this. You've got a great voice. Your posts are fantastic. But with anything, there's always opportunity for more. Yeah. Right. So are you on every platform or do you just limit to LinkedIn?
So
What's your approach? What's your philosophy with that?
when I did start out, I started out YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and LinkedIn at the same time because I didn't know where my audience would be. So I went full. So I was doing LinkedIn every single day. I was doing close to 5 to 8 posts each on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, short form or photograph. I am extreme. Like when I just like volume you were talking about, Dan. Like I did full volume and then I found out which worked the best. I found that LinkedIn worked the best for me. So again, as I was getting clients, I just eliminated the other 3 platforms. So I'm only focusing on LinkedIn at the moment, growing it. So as my business is growing, as my team is growing, I'll be able to go hop back onto the other platforms. But what I've been doing is now with LinkedIn, okay, but I'm starting long form YouTube content from whatever my clients need, or when I'm on actual sales calls, what do people actually need? So I've been creating content based off of the needs and to solve their problems. So that's what I'm also introducing. So at the moment, it's just LinkedIn and long form YouTube. I'm slowly starting. But when I first started out, I went full in, all platforms, just volume,
Yeah.
volume, volume, see what works the best. And also, it got me used to camera. So again, I'm not, I'm fine on camera. It just gave me this comfort. So yeah, volume. Dan, you were saying this. Just it might be bad, those 10 posts that you're doing, but just do it. And then you'll just
Love that.
become an expert at it.
Okay, I love that, and I've got some helpful tips. Okay, something that might help, and I'd love to know Dan's thought on this. Okay, what me and Dan talked about the people that we work with is don't work harder, work smarter. All right, me and
Hmm.
Dan had a meeting a few weeks ago with someone who spent 4 hours a day creating content. We had a meeting with someone who has 50,000 followers and doesn't convert clients. Okay, where they're obviously doing the work, but maybe not converting the way that we should. We call this mirroring and obviously the idea of repurposing. Okay. So on LinkedIn, everything you post, believe it or not, you can also put on Substack. Everything that you do on LinkedIn, you can put onto a newsletter twice because LinkedIn has its own a newsletter, for example. That can also be an X long form. Okay. There's so many ways to this though, Dan, isn't there? Like with the content that Layla creates and how good it is, would you endorse repurposing it many times? Or would you think that actually knowing she's doing so well in this, she just sticks to LinkedIn? Because obviously this is a great discussion, a great debate, a great
Yeah.
problem that many coaches and personal branding experts have. Okay. For me personally, I think that the internet is the ocean. The more boats you have in the ocean, the more likely you are to catch a fish. Okay. And we all want to catch a whale. Okay. So it's like the more boats I've got, TikTok, 2 of them, Instagram, 4 of them, LinkedIn, X, Substack, newsletter, the more opportunities we obviously get with the coach trap and with me. But Dan, that's only one theory. Okay. What's your theory on this?
The way I see it is you've got two different types of platforms. So you've got visual platforms like Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, And then you've got writing platforms like X and LinkedIn, emails, that kind of thing. I think what you found, obviously, Layla, is that the writing platforms work better for you. Obviously, you're really good at writing. If well, it's obviously working. You're obviously doing a lot of volume on LinkedIn already. I would expand to more writing platforms. So, and I've seen you've got an email
I
already.
like this. Yeah, I do have a newsletter as well, yes.
Yes,
So
exactly.
again, this repurposing, I do that.
Yeah. I would also be on X. So my
Hey,
process, personally for kind of the efficiency side of it is I write tweets that come from just ideas from podcasts, from talking to clients, from
yeah,
seeing what people are kind of struggling with. I'll write the tweet, which is just kind of like the base idea, very short form. Then I'll turn that idea, I'll go back and turn it into a kind of a longer form
I
on
love that.
LinkedIn.
I'm getting goosebumps, like, I love this strategy. I love that. I'm like, "Whoa, okay."
So that'll turn into to a LinkedIn post, and I'll try and do, a good few of those a week, and then I'll see at the end of the week which of those have performed the best, and I'll turn that into an email. I'll go even deeper on it
Okay,
and
I
kind
love
of
this.
and ideally in the email, I would talk about it from a client's perspective, so I'd put in a case study, talk about something like my own journey, something like that, just to kind of beef it up a bit to turn it into an email. I think you can do kind of the same with short form videos into long form videos with
Mhm.
the visual platforms as well. So that saves me a lot of headaches trying to like stress about coming up with ideas.
Yes.
I just get the idea, tweet it. If it does well, perfect. I'll turn it into a longer thing. If it does well again, I'll turn it to an email. So I think, yeah, you've just got to be a little bit smart about, using the platforms that you've done well on already, but turning that
Mhm.
into something bigger or something even shorter. And don't get like complacent in your success. I would aim higher again.
That's yes, the most dangerous part. If you're too comfortable, then there's a problem there.
Absolutely.
I love that. I
Absolutely.
love that, and I will be focusing more. I've never even considered X, to be honest. So, yeah, this is a great conversation. Yeah.
Talk about this a lot. I think it as well when I hear people when they're not on Substack but they're on LinkedIn or they're on LinkedIn and they don't have an X account. I'm thinking, well, they're all quite like there's similar ways, isn't there, Dan, to repurpose that content, and that's what this is all about. Like I said, for me personally, the more boats you've got in the ocean, the more likely you are to catch a fish,
Yes.
and we all want to catch a whale. And that's how I see it, and that's just being honest. But later, there was one other question I was really thinking about. I love the way you write your content. I love the what you're doing on LinkedIn, which makes me think that there was one aspect of it which I loved. I said about this like not being salesy, being authentic. I can tell that you like it. What's your thoughts on a lead magnet? You know, I reckon we might be aligned on that. So talk to me a little bit more because I was thinking when I was looking at it. So I think lots of coaches get this wrong, and I think that I know I've got a feeling there's something that you do. So I'd love to know a little bit more about that.
Okay, so this has been again one of my journeys finding what lead magnet works the best for me and my audience. So I started out, I fell into another coaching trap in the early stages. And by the way, before this, I had my own art academy for 5 years in Turkey. I ran it. So I've just switched the form of what I'm doing. So I fell into the trap of don't give away too much, otherwise you won't be able to sell. But as I continued the journey of, I'm like, no, wait a minute, like the more value I give, the more that's my main drive anyways, like giving value in any single conversation I have. Like that's my main one of my values is giving value. So I started out with simple like PDFs and stuff, but I realized that doesn't really work for me. So I've literally last week, I created like a free community where people get access to free coaching calls with me live weekly. Every week I'm there, like nothing changes. And also they get access to, I have a self-paced course as well. They get access to the first module of it. And also it's a community, which is a huge part of what I do. Always like creating communities. I'm very passionate about it. So also they get to be a part of a founder community and network with other founders as well. So I'm like, okay, this literally on Friday or Thursday, I think I launched it or something like that. Brand new. No one's in there yet because I haven't really done the marketing. But I'm like, this is the lead magnet I want because that's how I want people in. I want that energy basically. The other stuff felt too like senseless to me. I don't know. Like, I need
Absolutely.
some kind of thing to it. Yeah.
I had a feeling you were going to say that, and that's amazing because me and Dan are involved in three. So Dan, what's your thoughts on nurturing leads through communities? For me, it's amazing what you said about the PDFs, and I completely agree. If I see any coach that has a blueprint, and I've done that, by the way, someone who has,
We've all
a
done it.
free or whatever, right? It sounds a bit too salesy, and I think that bubble was burst with that. I think that ship has sailed. It might have worked a few years ago. So you have to change with the times. So obviously for us, we have the podcast, which we love, yeah, but it's free and anyone can listen to it. It's great. I also think a book's great. So me and Dan have a book and an audio course and something that we endorse to others. Obviously, it's paid, but it's a lot lower level than anything else we're doing. And Dan, you'd be so surprised how many people buying the book, read it, and then make that reach out to us. Okay, so it's like
It's
it
value.
opens the door. It
Yeah.
opens the door. It's only like £10, but it opens the door. So I think that is a lead magnet in itself, isn't it? You're talking about free calls, but Dan, our community is the best way to go with this to nurture because actually I was actually just writing a post today. Okay. Social media was dying, believe it or not. And I knew this at one of the founders meetings I was at last week, Dan. Less people are using Google than ever before. They're using AI and chat GCP or whatever, the use on X, Facebook, Instagram. Actually, believe it or not, it's all going down. It's less people using it. More people getting invested though in communities. Yeah, people are changing. So any massive YouTuber, if you like, they're building communities. All right, Dan, is this the way forward? Is this the evolution of coaching, if you like, that moving away from build it and they will come and maybe build it and join me? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, we're in a very, very similar position to you, Layla, with we've just created a community in the last, like, week or 2,
That's
um,
so funny.
with very similar, like, ideas and, like, thoughts behind it, and I think it's a brilliant idea. I think what we found is it's a big step to go from liking someone's content to, like, paying them a significant amount of money and investing, like, weeks of time, especially with coaching, with that one-to-one coaching. It's
Mhm.
kind of we think of it as a funnel, so you at the bottom, you've got obviously all the people to see your content. You've got, maybe 100,000 of those a month. Then you go up, into people that like your content, and they see you consistently, they follow you maybe. And
Mhm.
then what we were doing was going straight into the kind of pay us, really high ticket kind of thing, and it was not converting as well as it should have. So
Mhm.
what was create a middle ground between that which was a community, a low ticket offer, get people used to psychologically, paying you for more value. Believe it or not, it works. And yeah, I think when they see the amount of value that you can give, um, and you're not holding back whatsoever with the community, is going to convert. It's logically just going to convert to a lot more high ticket clients. So yeah, it's worked well for us, and probably it's going to work very well for you as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, honestly, that's what
Layla,
I say with
that's
no holding back. Sorry.
That's amazing. Layla, I've got my last big question for you.
Okay.
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 Going off the sort of founders that you look for, and I think this it'd be a real valuable talking point and lesson for our listeners and any other coach out there. So I'm in Bali at the moment, and Dan was here. Me and my wife have been to lots of founders dinners. Yeah, Bali is a hub for this. There's so many people here in e-commerce, tech, founders, whatever it might be. It's definitely a hub, right? On LinkedIn, where are these people coming from, and how are you looking for them? I have a different point to this. Okay, on LinkedIn, we are subcategory pooled together. So coaches are together, marketers are together, and to break that boundary is quite hard. On Instagram, it's the same. Okay, so when you put in what you are, you're put in with those sort of people. So, no, me and Dan are podcasters. Everything I get on the Instagram feed is podcasting. On X, though, Dan, there's no pools, is there? It's a much bigger thing. There's no subcategory, so it's just out there. All right.
Mhm.
I'd love to know a little bit more about how you focus in on these people, how you reach out to them, because I think actually, with everyone who's listening in your position, that would be such a valuable lesson. Yeah,
Mhm.
how do you go about looking for these people, realizing that there may be an ideal client? I think that's a really good question, a really good point. I think that would be really
It's
valuable for the people that listen.
I think because so I grew up with social media. I'm 28 and like it's my phone is literally an extension of my body. So My friends and I, we always, this is the word we use, like, oh, I'm training the algorithm. Like, I'm not liking the content these days. I'm just going to search a few things, like a few posts, and I'm training the algorithm. So it shows me more of this. So this is something that is, again, natural to me, anyways. It's like, well, if I'm looking for founders, I need to train the algorithm. So it's showing me them and I'm being shown to them as well. So what do I have to do? I have to, yes, search for founder, literally very basic, add them, like their posts, comment on them, and then as you go on, you start training the algorithm and then you start being pushed there. So it is about, you can't just wait, sit down and wait for the algorithm to. This is a trap I think most business owners fall into as well, just sitting and waiting for everything to just. But no, you have to actively train the algorithm. I feel like, I don't know, Dan, you're going to be more informed than I am than this, but this is just what I do. I'm just like,
I
yeah,
love that.
if I go to these people, they're going to come to me and it's just going to create, the algorithm is going to be like, oh, okay, we'll match these people together.
Yeah, I mean for LinkedIn, that's the perfect strategy, pretty much. The luxury you've got with that is that you can connect with people on LinkedIn. So not
Yes,
only do
that's
you
why I love it.
follow them, they automatically follow you as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it works really well. I think the other thing you can do on top of that is send DMs to like the target audience that you want to
Yeah.
target, which I know you're already doing, which is annoying, but that's fine.
I have a whole system for that as well. Like I said, I
Yeah,
have strategy and intuition. And yeah, that also the DMing. Yes, many coaches also aren't aware of that. And that's what I work on within my program as well for founders and coaches. I have a couple of coaches as well. You need to let people know, especially when you're in the beginning, you don't have the luxury of not doing this. No one knows about you. So you have to, just go out there and say, hey, I'm doing this. Are you interested?
Yeah, it's
yeah,
an active
that's really
process.
good.
A
Yeah.
lot of people are too passive with it.
Yes.
I have a really good tip for you, Leyla. I'd love to know whether you've heard of this before and if you've done it.
Mhm.
LinkedIn SSI. So it's on LinkedIn Sales Navigator. It will
Okay.
give you a percentage of where you are performing in your niche. Okay. So I've obviously run myself in the coach trap for it. I think I was the top 7%, and I think the coach trap was the top 11. But openly, give me a few things of what to do. And that was to make
That's
sure that
good. Okay.
my testimonials are in my services or whatever it might do. So when you actually click on your services part of your profile and it says add media, you can fill up to 8 parts. So I was able to reduce that 11, bring that 11% down. So I think last time I checked, it was at 9% down, which was
I didn't
interesting.
know this. Okay.
Yeah, so and obviously Dan uses LinkedIn Sales Navigator as well. So, but the actual LinkedIn SSI as a part of it is completely free. Anyone can check on actually like how well their LinkedIn post is performing, and that's all about where you are in that percentage. And it's really helpful just to know. You can't see who's doing better, or at least I don't think you can. But that would be really helpful, obviously, to compare yourself. But it's a good point to like an assessment, right? And I think that's great. But Dan, you're a fan of LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Does that improve your opportunities to connect, to send DMs? I'd imagine it helps you break the pooling on LinkedIn. So instead of being like pooled with coaches from London, you have an ability to send DMs to coaches from all around the world. Yeah, talk to me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, Sales Navigator is a really good tool. I think a lot of people are scared of sending cold DMs, which is what Sales Navigator is mainly used for. But as long as you're sending them quality rather than quantity, a lot of people send like 2,000 a day and they get like a 0.1% reply rate, and they're wondering why they're not getting clients. What they're actually doing is just being seen by a lot more people in a negative light. They're like, why is this guy spamming like copy paste messages to me? And it's almost like negative word of mouth marketing. It's really bad. It's counterproductive, really. But I think it can be used well for when you personalize the messages and for finding the people specifically as well, which is it's easier to. There's a lot of like filters you can use rather than searching like just founder on LinkedIn. You could search for founders in this specific area who've changed jobs recently, who've been doing it for under 2 years, and you've got all of those filters to use to try and target exactly who you can help. And that will mean you can have the luxury of using your content a little bit more niche as well, just to complement that. And it just goes really specific, and you can kind of resonate with exactly the right person. So yeah, it's definitely a good tool.
Amazing, amazing. Layla, it's been such a pleasure to speak to you. And for any coaches that are watching this or any personal brand experts or marketers, trust me, look at what Layla's doing with her profile and how she's writing. You'll definitely learn a thing or two because I definitely did. I saw, how you're doing it. And I think it resonates with what me and you're talking about, that and what we've tried to help other people with. I think it's a fantastic message you got. I think it's a great approach you've got. And like I said, I can see why you're doing so well. Layla, where's the best space to find you, or is that a silly question?
LinkedIn as Leyla Holmes. Yes, that yes. I am also on TikTok and Instagram as the Leyla Holmes as well. I'm not very active there, but you could also find me there. The content there is from a few months back, but maybe I'll be active again. So if anyone wants to reach out, they don't use LinkedIn. I'm also on TikTok and Instagram. Also, my company is called Holmes Life Consulting, so you can find it at Holmes Life Consulting. Yes,
Layla, thank you so much for joining us. And
thank you.
guys, whatever you do, don't fall into the coach trap.
I'll try.